I want to welcome my guest for this segment, Jeff Lafata-Hernandez, who's the Executive Director of Empowering People for Inclusive Communities, also known as EPIC.
Yes.
Jeff, welcome.
Thank you.
So Jeff, we've gotten to know each other over the last year and a half. EPIC, chamber member business, but not a new organization or necessarily a new business, but new to Central Massachusetts.
Yep.
And for our viewers, maybe you could talk a little bit about what EPIC's mission is.
Yeah, so our official mission is to prepare young people with disabilities to be actively engaged community leaders. And so we use education and service learning to empower young people with disabilities to take on leadership roles in their communities.
And that's really important, and I know for some of the regular viewers of the show, they'll say, there he goes again, he's going to say this, but the single biggest issue that we hear from our members at the Chamber of Commerce, regardless of the size of the company or the sector they're in, it's not taxes, it's not health care, it's not energy costs, though those are things we do hear about pretty frequently, but the single biggest issue is access to talent. How do we get motivated people to work in our business or in our organization? And with unemployment the way it is, the shortages, the demand, we need every person who is able and wants and is motivated to work on the playing field. And you work to make sure that these young people who may have some challenges and disabilities have an opportunity to engage and advocate for themselves and become good employees and maybe owners of companies themselves someday.
That's our goal, yeah. I mean, people with disabilities have the highest unemployment rate. It's a field of talent that's not being tapped into. So our goal really is to work with these young people to give them the tools and the talent and the self-advocacy so that they can go out into the community and get those jobs. And also through partnering with organizations, we're showing them, this is your future talent pool right here. Here's your future employees. Stick with us, and hopefully then they can be working for you.
Right, and I want to get into some of the specifics on how you do that in a little bit, but maybe the history of the organization, and as I mentioned, kind of new to Worcester and Central Mass, but had been operating for some time in the greater Boston area.
Yeah, so I founded EPIC in 2011 in Boston, and so we've been running our Service Warrior program there since 2012. We have a couple different programs that we run as far as doing service learning, but then we also have training programs where we go out around all of New England and do trainings for youth and adults with and without disabilities on topics of disabilities. Because as much as we empower young people with disabilities to be great leaders, if the rest of the community doesn't see them that way and doesn't know how to make things accessible, they're going to still hit that wall. So our goal is also to train the community at large at the same time. So we've been running the Service Warrior program out there for 8 years. We're in our 8th year now, and we then just launched here in Worcester this past April with our first team of Service Warriors here.
Right, and the Service Warriors are the young people who commit. They sign up, they commit, kind of walk us through the process of how you determine or someone becomes a Service Warrior.
Yeah, so we cast a wide net. Here in Worcester, we reached out to a lot of organizations that are already doing great work, like Easter Seals and Center for Living and Working. We also worked with Worcester Public Schools, their transition department, to really try to recruit a good pool of young people. But we are not an everybody gets in program.
Right.
It's not how life works.
Right.
So they have to apply, they have to interview, they have to get recommendations, and then if selected, they sign on for 1 year with us. So within that 1 year, they meet twice a month. One day is doing service. So a couple weeks ago, we were out cleaning a park. Last weekend, they were working at a community farm in Worcester where all the produce then goes to feed those in need. And through each project, they're learning important life skills, as well as what is this part of the Worcester community? Are you tapped into this part of the Worcester community?
Yeah.
Is this a resource that you can use in the future? And then the second day each month, they're doing leadership workshops. So learning important skills to help them in the future. And some of those are things like political literacy, where they all get registered to vote. They meet with local politicians. To things like this coming Saturday, they're going out to a ropes course to learn what it means to have good communication, self-advocacy, and to work as a team.
So a rope courses, they're up on wire and a harness trying to get from point A to point B, right?
Yeah, we got a couple nervous Service Warriors right now for this Saturday, but it's an amazing opportunity because it also gets them to question what they think their abilities are.
Yeah. To
get them to think that even though I'm using a wheelchair or a walker doesn't mean that I can't get up on these ropes and do what everybody else is doing.
Right, right. And you know, based upon your time, you know, fairly new to Worcester, the program just launched. your success with the Service Warrior, after the young people participate in the program, go through, you're working with, potential employers or others. What's some of the success? How do you measure yourself, both as an organization but individually?
Yeah. So part of it is the next step for every young person in our program is so different. They're between the ages of 16 and 23. Some of them are still in high school for another couple years. Some are in college. So it's working with them on where they're at and what they want to do next. So that can vary drastically. We do know that over 90% of our alumni are gainfully employed or in college, which is a drastic difference than the national average for people with disabilities. Right. But then it takes on many different forms. So we have young people who now sit on the Disability Commission for their cities and towns. Right. We have young people out getting jobs, graduating college, going on to grad school. We have alumni who are now special ed teachers, who are working in every possible field. And it's that is the bigger picture that's helping us realize that this works. Mm-hmm. Some of it is the smaller stuff of a young person coming into our program and they know they have a disability, but they don't identify. They're not happy, they're not proud of it. Right. But by the end, they are proud to be a member of the disability community. They know how to advocate for themselves. They know that they have a culture and a history that's important to them, just like any other group of people. Right. And so watching young people be able to tap into that can be a life changer for them.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, and you talk about a 90% placement rate. I mean, most high school, colleges, any type of program, whether it was for people with disabilities or not, that's a success rate.
It is, yeah. It's amazing to see it happen too.